So, ladies and gentlemen, without wasting too much time, please let's welcome Professor Aite to our discussion this afternoon.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome, sir. It's good to have you on this afternoon, my time. And I hope all is well with you where you are.
Yes, I'm right here in Accra. Even though it's extremely warm, I believe that we are, as we say in Ghana, managing.
Thank you for honoring our invite to come share a few things with us this afternoon. Achimota has been in the news for all the right reasons in the last few weeks. And when you talk to Achimotans all over the place, you get varying opinions, people complaining that Achimota is not living up to standard, Achimota is going down, and then you get some people saying that Achimota is doing very well, and then you hear in the news that Achimota is being sued, and then somewhere along the line, you hear in the news that a year group has honored their responsibility to the school, and so many things going on. But I think we want to take this opportunity this afternoon to get to the bottom of issues, to really know, as Accra's Worldwide, what is going on. And in our opinion, the best person to talk to at this point, or to start this debate or discussion, is to talk to you, the president, second term president of the OAA. So thank you for your time, and I believe we are going to start our discussion now.
Thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome, sir. So I want to start by asking the obvious question. Who is an Accra?
That's fairly easy to answer. And here I make reference to our constitution. An Accra is anybody who went to Achimota School and finished a program of study. There could be O-levels or A-levels, but anybody who has spent time at Achimota School to finish a program is an Accra. But it goes beyond how one becomes eligible to be called Accra. Beyond, beyond finishing Achimota School, we do have an interest in how people become members of the association, the Old Achimotan Association. And it's something that you qualify for by virtue of going to the school. But even more important is why you want to belong to the association. It's a network of people who are interested by virtue of the fact that they went to Achimota School, and interested in sharing their experiences and the heritage that they share. So yes, anybody who went to Achimota School and finished a program is eligible to be an Old Achimotan.
Wonderful, great answer. So when you leave Achimota School, what are our obligations as an Accra? What is expected of us when we leave the school?
One of the very first things you learn at Achimota School is the fact that when you leave school, you are expected to contribute to your community. You are expected to contribute to the development of society. And so that's the least that is expected of us. But we are expected also to contribute to the further development of the school itself, the school that made us whoever we have become. We are expected to do that. So when you join the Old Achimotan Association, there are things that we have earmarked for individuals and groups to do at certain milestones in their lives. So we expect people who have left the school 10 years later to be able to do something We expect people who have left school for 20 years to be able to do something. Specifically, those milestones have been chosen largely because they are exciting for natural reasons. They are exciting for the individuals concerned. And they also indicate the preparedness and capacity of those individuals to do something for the school. So we say, for example, that all those who finish the school 10 years or after 10 years are expected to provide resource persons for a school organized guidance and counseling session with the students. So they will provide the resource person, they'll provide light refreshments for staff and students, and the school will ensure maximum staff and student attendance and participation. So that's for those who left the school 10 years earlier. And so that's not too much to ask for. 10 years after leaving Achimota School, you would have finished university probably. You would have worked for some 6 years at least. So there's a little bit of money in your pocket, not much under normal circumstances, but a little bit of money where you can buy lunch for a student, where you can buy some refreshments for students. So that's the first thing, the first major obligation of people leaving the school. The second one comes 20 years after leaving the school. 20 years after leaving the school, we have what we call the Teachers Appreciation Day. And the year group that is celebrating 20 years of leaving school is responsible for organizing the event where they host lunch or dinner at the school for past teachers and present teachers, basically saying thank you to the teachers who contributed so much to make their lives what they've become today. So after 20 years, you host the Teachers Appreciation Day. The group that suffers the most, in my view, is the group that is celebrating 25 years leaving school. So, it's a quarter of a century. We that group. They deliver a legacy for Founders Day. They organize a session for the Founders Day, and then they organize a bonfire. They provide a school feast, and they also attend the Founders Day, and then thereby, and then the Thanksgiving service. And then they are expected to provide support for the speech and prize giving day. So this is the group that we tax the most. And why do we put so much emphasis? 25 years of leaving school, they are very, very happy. They are very happy. Since leaving school, they've managed to start and raise their own families. Their children are coming to Achimota School. They are doing very well professionally, socially. Those who went into politics are beginning to find their level. And so this is a group that you can easily target. They are happy and they have resources. And beyond having resources, they are also resourceful. So that's the group that we put a lot of emphasis on. And then 30 years after leaving school, we expect them to organize the annual President's Fundraising Ball. We've tried very hard to organize a fundraising ball in the name of the OA president, and we make it the responsibility of the group that is turning 30. So that is their responsibility. And then after that, there wasn't much of an expectation until you turn 50. Until you turn 50, where they're again supposed to deliver some legacy project and then provide the speaker for Founders Day. We found over the years, we've observed that many of those who are turning 50 after leaving school are in their mid to late 60s or early 70s. They've retired, they've been retired for some 7-8 years. There isn't much money in their pockets, nor in their bank account. There isn't much money there. And so when you tax them to produce a legacy project, they really struggle. they struggle a lot. But out of pride and out of commitment, out of loyalty to the school, they do it. They try to do it. And sometimes halfway through the project, they sort of abandon it. It's not the best. And so we decided, that was last year, instead of waiting for them to turn 50 before placing this onerous task on them, let's do it at 40. Let's do it at 40 instead. So we moved that responsibility to those who are 40 years old, 40 years after leaving school. Of course, it means, therefore, that the year groups between 40 and 50 are probably going to suffer in the sense that they will not have an opportunity to provide such a legacy project. So to make it possible for all of them to participate as well as possible, we decided that we'll pair year groups. So you know, last year, it was the turn of the 1970 year group to 50. We paired them with those from the 1980 year group. So 70 and 80 did it together, even though it was 70 that provided the legacy project. This year, we had hoped that the 71 year group and the 81 year group would do it together. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we haven't been able to finalize that. But I know that the 71 year group has finished with their project. They are delivering solar energy to the school. So it's a very, so next year, 72 and 82 will work together, hopefully. And then after that, my year group, the indomitable 73 year group, will be pairing up with the 83 year group. And so that's how we're going to do it until all those in their 40s run out. And then the year group turns 40 will take it up on its own. So this is how we have arranged for different year groups to provide support to the school that they love so much. I don't know if whether I've answered your question.
Yes, I mean, you've been wonderful. That is fairly understood, and I believe we can all work with that as we've been doing. Another reason for this discussion is why we don't get all hands on deck. You know, when it comes to these fundraising issues and these projects, what happens is you get some people sitting on the fence, and then you get some people coming in and taking on the project, you know, doing whatever it takes to make it a success. Why do we have a problem? Well, I call it a problem, getting Achimotans to be on board. I mean, even in the area of dues, payment of dues, we do have a problem. We do have a major problem. And I'll come to that in a bit. But why is it that we don't get that kind of commitment from Achimotans when we have to do something for our school?
I understand your question fully. And it's, I'm going to give you an explanation of why I think we appear to have these challenges. But I must preface my comments with a smaller comment. Even though we struggle, or we appear to be struggling to encourage Achimotans in a much more widespread manner to support the cause, I would like to put on record that Achimotans have often risen to the occasion. They have often delivered when it mattered most. So different year groups have, over the years, provided good service to the university, to the school. So different and individuals have also done that. The problem that we face is that it's often the same individuals. So you can take any year group at all, there are always a few individuals there who contribute both to the year group's success and also to the wider OA. The problem we face is how to enlarge that group, And we've tried many different ways. A question I often get asked by Akures is, what do I get for all of this? What do I get for spending money on the school? What do I get for contributing to this or that? And I know that my response to them often is not received as positively as I would like to see, but it's the only honest answer. We give to the school not in expectation of what the school will do for us in future. We are actually giving back to the school. So whatever we do, we are giving back for what we have already taken. You can argue that you paid school fees, which is true. Well, I guess future generations that are going through free SHS will have that excuse that they paid school fees. Right? We paid school fees. It's true that we paid school fees. But in my view, the value of what we derived from the school goes way beyond the fees our parents paid. Goes way beyond. So everything that we do for the school is giving back. Those of you who live in America know that tradition very, very well. Giving back to society, giving back to your college, giving back to your school is something that is very, very well known, very well practiced, and very well structured in many different parts of the world. It's always a challenge bringing these kinds of concepts to our communities here. So I do hope that with our fundraising effort, we are making Akures aware of the fact that they are simply giving back for services already rendered to them. And the fact that they have the privilege of saying, I went to Achimota School. Today, when you say anywhere that you went to Achimota School, it is done with certain pride. It is done in full acknowledgement of the fact that that qualification stands you, I don't know how to put it, it provides for you a certain recognition and acknowledgement that you probably will not find elsewhere so easily. So you are paying back, or you are giving back to the school for things it has done for you, and it is still doing for you. It is still doing for you. You go around the world telling them you went to Achimota School. So the world opens doors for you because you went to Achimota School. Because you went to Achimota School, you met many other Achimotans who are ready to open doors for you. And it is in recognition of that you also do things in appreciation of what has been done for you. I often meet Akures who say, I'm looking for admission for my kids to Achimota School, and they are not giving me, or last year when I went, they didn't take my kids, and so I don't see why I should give them anything. It's one of the most unfortunate arguments that anybody can make for not giving back. So your kids, yes, may not have had the privilege of going to Achimota School, but you did. You did. And so giving back is your way of saying thank you. And your colleagues whose kids have been lucky to go to Achimota School are then building a new generation of Akures who will also be giving back. And that's how we are going to sustain the school for the next 100, next 200 years. It's the giving back that is most important. So we have not been able to encourage many Akures to give back because we have not been able to sell the message that don't think about what you did or what will be done for you, but think about what you have already derived from the school. And I do hope year groups will sell that message to their colleagues who ask that question, what is the school doing for me? What has the school done for my children? It is about what the school did for you, the doors it opened for you.
Wonderful. Prof, is there a system in place to sell this concept globally? I mean, you just mentioned that members of the year groups should sell this to their friends, should sell this to their mates. But as a collective effort or as an administrative effort, do we have a system in place to try and sell this message, to try and get people to understand this message of giving back to the school, this message of it's not for what you're going to get from the school, but it is for what you got from the school. This message of if you believe in what Achimota did for you, do something and leave some kind of legacy for the people coming after us. Do we have a system in place? Have we tried anything to get this message across?
No, I think you have a very important point there. We do try to get the message across, but not in a systematic way. So what we probably need to do is to systematize the way we communicate. Maybe we can use the website. Indeed, one main reason for accepting your invitation is to have this opportunity to address the wider public. And I will discuss with my colleagues how best we can package this. We have communications experts on the executive committee. It should be fairly straightforward for them to think about ways in which we can sell the message, market it properly to Akures. That is, don't ask questions about what the school is doing for you or is going to do for you. It's about what the school has done for you. It's about the doors that have been opened for you. It's about the name that has been given to you, and so on.
Wonderful, thank you. I'm sure we will follow up and make sure this is working and for the common good of the school. On the subject of dues, I reached out to the Secretariat sometime last year, and I'm a 1990 year group. We call ourselves the Awesome Groups because we are very awesome. And I reached out to them about my dues, and this is the message I got back. I have to start paying from 2009. So this is in 2020, being asked to pay from 2009 to 2019. So for those 10 years, I'm supposed to pay 60 cedis annually. And then from 2020, it is 120 annually. It is not a big deal. I think it can be doable. But what I'm trying to, and what happened is, when I got this message, I haven't really gotten back to the lady I got a message from to make sure I'm up to date in the area of my dues. So as I sit here, I'm guilty, I admit. But question is, I know most of my year group, or most of my mates have not paid their dues. If you are asking them to pay from 2009, a lot of them, the money is not all that, yes, but a lot of them may just not come back to that discussion. Is there any way we can have a conversation around this dues thing and make it effective from a more reasonable time period and move on with that, with the hope that we'll be able to get almost everybody on board? Because here is the case whereby we are trying to get people on board, but we are the same people telling them that if you want to come on board, you have to go back 10 years ago or 11 years ago. I believe this strategy is not the best at the moment, because in my personal experience, after getting the message from the lady, I didn't go back to the lady. You see, and people are not paying. I don't know why they are not paying. Maybe because the message is not out there. Maybe there's so many factors we have to look at. But is there any way we can revisit and say that, okay, guys, we are just going to forgive you guys, and what we are trying to do with you presidents of the year group, and talking about presidents, I'm going to come to it in a minute. So what we are going to do is, starting from 2021, we want all hands on deck. We want everybody to pay what is due, and we want the OA to move forward. You know, I don't know if that is doable, but I feel with this discussion we are having now, which is trying to get a message across, if we pass that amnesty, okay, and get people on board going forward, we may be able to get a lot more going forward than we will get looking to get from the past. So I don't know what you have to say about that. I don't know if you think that's a good idea, but we are throwing it to you.
I understand you fully, but I also want to make the point that it is not the first time. 2009 was not the first time that an amnesty was granted. So the experience has been that we don't pay the dues, and we always find there are always many different explanations. I don't want to say excuses. There are many different explanations for not paying dues. I've heard over the years things like, nobody told us that we had to pay dues. Oh, we paid it to our year group. Oh, the person who used to come and collect the money has stopped coming. Oh, there were some national service people, who were coming and they've stopped coming. Oh, the secretariat never told us, it's very difficult to find an appropriate way to pay. And the bank charges are too high. There are always many different explanations for the difficulty in paying dues. We fully acknowledge that. But people also need to accept that over the last 3 years, a lot of effort has gone into streamlining the methods for making dues payments. And so today, it's possible through mobile money to pay your dues. It's possible to use cards to pay your dues. It's possible to make various transfers, so you don't need to go to the secretariat in order to pay your dues. And we also made it possible for year groups to collect the dues and then make the payment on behalf of the group. That notwithstanding, there are still many challenges that people have. For most people that I know, the only reason why they haven't paid is that they forget, and they need constant reminders. And I think the year groups are the best placed to provide those reminders. And we are going to continue. But back to the question of whether we should give another amnesty. Once you keep shifting the goalposts from, let's say, 2001 to 2009 and 2009 to 2021, effectively, you are losing revenue. I must say you are losing revenue. When it was 2009, it was still the same group that was, one of the things I can show you, for every single year group, I can show you the people who paid their dues in 2009 and those who are paying 2021. Usually, it is the same people, but there are other people in the year group. So how come these ones are paying and you go to the same year group meetings with them, but the others don't pay? It's a matter of commitment. We will look into the possibility of granting another amnesty. I'm not particularly hopeful, though, that doing an amnesty is going to bring more money. I'm not particularly optimistic about that. But because you've raised it, I will make sure that we discuss it. I think we have an AGM coming up in June, and I'll make sure that the AGM discusses it. If there's a need, if people are convinced that bringing another amnesty is the best way to improve our revenues, no problem, we can do it. We should be ready to have discussions about these things. But I think, again, year groups need to have more open discussions about these things. In every year group, there are those who may not have the resources to easily pay these things. I know some year groups where some pay for their colleagues and so on. It's important that we have discussions and people understand. I noticed also that in some places, people believe that once they've paid their year group dues, then they don't owe the OA anything. And it's something I've always struggled to make people understand, that paying your year group dues does not amount to paying your OA dues. If the year group chooses to collect both the year group dues and the OA dues and transmit to the OAA what is its fair share, what is appropriate share of that collection, that's fine. But I also know of many year groups that do collect the dues from their members, but do not forward this to the secretariat. So all of these things need to be looked at. Dues collection is a major problem for us. You've made a plea for another amnesty. We will look at it. I promise that at the next AGM, we will discuss it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for considering the amnesty. I think with the lines of communication that is open now and with the help of technology, because I think what we have to really do as a group is to find a way to communicate to the group. For example, using a system like we have now. This will give us access to a wider network of Accras all over the world. And you will be able to tell us what is going on and what it is that is expected of us and what it is that we have to do and what it is that, and we can also tell you what we expect of you guys. Yes. So that is wonderful. And I'm very grateful that you are going to consider looking into this amnesty thing. I don't think the amnesty thing is about the affordability. I mean, I don't think the problem is with the payment of the dues. I think it is to do with the commitment. It's to do with the busyness of Accras all over. And I think if we are able to put a system in place to remind people, or a better system of collection, we will be able to do this effectively. On the same subject of dues, Accra just sent a message in, and according to Accra Paul Achampon, he paid his dues last year, and he still hasn't received any confirmation of a dues payment. How would he be able to confirm, or how will he be able to convince his mates to pay their dues if he paid last year and there's not been any confirmation of payment whatsoever? Another Accra also came in with a very wonderful suggestion. Accra Monacote said something like, well, if they want amnesty, they should pay for 2021. You see, so once you pay for 2021, we clean your past sins, we wipe away your past sins, and then we look forward to a better future. So I think as much as possible, we also have to look at not only the payment system, but the whole structure in place. I mean, there's a lot of technology at play in our time, and I think we can effectively use the technology available to mobilize these resources to get people to pay what they have to pay and to do what they have to do. So we look forward to.
One of the questions I often face from Accras is, why should we pay dues? What do you use the dues for? And I think it's important that we make them aware that the dues largely go to finance the running of the secretariat. We pay the salaries of 4 full-time employees and 1 part-time employee. We pay utility bills. We pay for internet. We pay for the maintenance of the website. We pay for the production of souvenirs like car stickers, which we sell. So we have to pay for it upfront. For the streaming of activities like the carol service, organizing things like the Thanksgiving service. When there are shortfalls, so when year groups do projects for the school, and there are shortfalls in the funds used, the OA has often been called upon to step in. And then we coordinate various Accra events. And this is all cost money. And that's what we use the dues for. I'm happy to say that in the last 2 years, largely because we were doing the fundraising for the science block, and people paying for the science block also pay their dues. We saw some significant growth in the payment of dues. Now that the science block is finished, I don't know whether they are going to go back into their shells, but we need the money to ensure that the secretariat runs and that the OA is able to function. These days, we pay lawyers. We pay lawyers to fight various battles for us. We do try to raise funds for those things through the lands fund, the land fund. Where the land fund is in difficulty, we fall on dues to make amends. So clearly, there are many good reasons why ACRES should be paying their dues regularly.
Okay, thank you. We live in an age where transparency is very important. And I think, I don't know, like I said, in the area of dues, I'm guilty, as charged, so.
So you are promising that after this meeting, you will send your money?
Straight up, it will be done today or tomorrow latest. Oh no, by Monday latest.
And I hope all the 89 people that I see on the Zoom meeting will also be paying up. I see Victor Atiemo being ready to pay his dues.
So I think as much as we are committing to pay our dues, we must also have a system where there is a lot of transparency in the accounting of what comes in. I don't know how that can be done, but I think it should be accessible to anybody who even goes to the website. You know, you click on finance or something, and it's there. This is what we have collected. This is what it's being used for so far, and stuff like that. And I think that will also motivate people to pay. For some strange reason, when we leave Achimota School, we all become some way, and we all want to see how things are being done, and we want to, if that's what they want, let's give it to them, if that is what will enable us to get the best out of our dues. So thank you. I think another Accra came in.
I think on the issue of transparency and accountability, I can assure you that we are up to date, as far as I know, on the audit of our accounts. We have these audited, and I think we've begun the process of moving these onto the website, so any Accra can go to the website and check on the state of our audit, financial audits, and so on. Eunice has just posted that the audit accounts are on the OAA website. So currently, we are auditing the 2020 accounts to be presented at the AGM in June.
Wonderful. And I also like to add that when you send in your money through Momo and it has no name to it, please follow up so that the necessary credit is given to you. So that is something that Accra Zan, if the name is right, sent in not too long ago. Talking about all this and talking about getting all hands on deck and talking about getting the year groups to mobilize and to do what is needful, I want to better understand the system in place. For my year group, we have ACRES in Europe, we have ACRES in Northern America, and we have ACRES in Ghana. And we have presidents for all these regions. But I don't think we can have 3 heads. So who calls the shots? Who is the president of the OA, as in the year group?
Let me see if I've understood your question. So there are 2 levels.
Okay.
One is the OA level, the OA itself.
Okay.
There's only one OA.
Yeah, so I mean the year group.
Yeah, so I know that there's only one OA.
Okay.
And that one OA has one president, one vice president,
Okay.
one executive secretary, one treasurer. That's it. The OAA is allowed by constitution to operate at different regional levels. So all members of the OAA who live in North America are free to organize a North American branch of the OAA. It is a branch of the OAA. It is not an independent OAA. All Accras in the UK are free to organize. Accras in South Africa, Accras in Australia are free to organize and are strongly encouraged to organize because of proximity and because it's convenient to do that. But there's only one way, and that's a point I like to make at all times. And there, we are also enjoying to organize ourselves through year groups. So, and these year groups, you find like the OA itself scattered around the world. So there are those who live in North America, those who live in Asia, those who live in the UK, and so on. Now, the challenge for many year groups, because they are scattered, organization is very difficult for various things. They do have elections. Those who do, some year groups don't even have elections. So those who organize elections, they do. And they elect a year group president, they elect an executive committee, and so on. I know that there is tension in some year groups because they don't understand why the president must live in Ghana when other members live in the US or in the UK or anywhere else. They argue, and it's a strong point, that because of technology, it's possible for the president to be anywhere in the world. The counter argument is that the OAA performs largely functions in relation to the school, and the school is here in Ghana. So the activities that bring the people together are centered around something that is located in Ghana. When year group members die or are bereaved, you expect the year group president to go, or the treasurer to go, or when people are sick, you expect the president to do these things. Is it functionally feasible for a year group president who is not capable of performing these regular roles of a president? So it's not simply about calling Zoom meetings where you can sit in China and call a Zoom meeting. But after that Zoom meeting, when someone is bereaved and you have to go to the funeral in Konongo, are you going to come from Chicago and go to Konongo? Are you going to lead? So for practical reasons, it makes sense to have a year group president who is in Ghana for practical reasons. As for the OA itself, the constitution says that the president must be in Ghana. But for the year groups, it's only practical that the president must be in Ghana, and the president can attend OA events on your behalf, whether it's Thanksgiving service, carol service, whatever. So you want an active president. You don't want a president in name only. You don't want a president who simply calls Zoom meetings. The president must be able to represent you, the year group, at all Achimota events. That's why I don't encourage electing. I think it's possible to find ways of recognizing year group members who are active overseas. It should be possible. And it should be possible to recognize that role and duly acknowledge it, and so on. But I don't think it needs to be formalized to the extent of electing a president who cannot function practically. I don't know if I've answered your question.
You have answered my question, and I think it's pretty clear. Yes, pretty clear. Thank you so much for that. Achimota School,
Mm-hmm.
Ghana Education Service. What is the current situation with Achimota School? Apparently, with the new SHS system and with what has transpired over the period, we are under the sole supervision of Ghana Education Service, and they do have a say in what goes on with Achimota School. What is the situation with that?
Let me pick my words carefully. I see that Professor Dimensa is sitting there looking at me. I need to be careful to not say the wrong things. The Ghana Education Service is intended or was intended to regulate the running of all pre-tertiary institutions. So the primary function as conceived by the originators was to be a regulator of to setting the standards for schools, ensuring that the standards are complied with, and so on and so forth. With time, its role has moved well beyond being a regulator to becoming a manager. You know, and these are two clearly distinguishable roles in public administration. So GES is no longer a regulator, but a manager of schools. And it looks like there's not much that is placed in terms of limits on how far it can go with this managerial role. Many of these things have evolved over time, and because nobody has contested them over the years, they become a part and parcel of the way GES operates. So they are able to appoint teachers to schools, appoint heads to schools, appoint school boards, and all these things. And then effectively ensure that these bodies that they appoint function in only a particular way. Now, the challenge for schools like Achimota is that, and it's not unique to Achimota, there are other schools that have their own history, and their own traditions, and their own cultures that have been developed over many, many years. The challenge for schools like Achimota and Infantsipim, Wesley Girls, St. Mary's, and so on, the challenge for them is that they get treated by GES the same way GES would treat a 5-year-old school in the Brong-Ahafo region. They get treated the same way. They forget that the history of the institution, the resources of the institution, the expectations of the institution, and the people who have gone through that institution, that these things matter. And these things should be a part of the equation in determining how the schools should be run. So Achimota School, I don't believe that anybody at GES sets out to treat Achimota School badly. But GES fails to recognize the potential of a school like Achimota. And because it fails to recognize that potential and sees Achimota School like any other school, whether it's 5 years old or 2 years old and so on, it then does not make the right choices when it comes to, or the right policy decisions when it comes to how do you handle a school like Achimota. We have made from time to time various recommendations to the Ghana Education Service that schools need to be treated differently, even though the principle behind running them as public institutions should be the same. You should recognize their potential and what they can do and what role they can play and what contribution they can make. It should be the responsibility of GES to get the most out of each school. So you take a school like Achimota that has so much potential, far more potential than any other school by virtue of its resources alone. How do you support Achimota School to give you the most? How do you support Accra Academy to give you the most that it can? How do you support Infantsipum or Wesley Grammar or St. Mary's to give you the most that it can? As opposed to saying, hey, Achimota School, this is what I'm giving you, and this is what you should do, period. That is the problem of senior high school education in Ghana today. There's nobody who is thinking about how do we get the most out of these schools. So Achimota School is treated like any other school, even though its resources require different management skills. Its resources require different operational approaches. It is treated like any school, whether it is 2 years old, 5 years old, so on. That is the problem. And it's a problem that can only be solved when the government of Ghana accepts that schools have different potentials, that schools need to be treated differently. People will come back and fight useless wars talking about equity and equality. Yes, the fact that you treat them differently does not mean that you take away equity and equality. It does not mean that at all. It means that when you go to Achimota School, this is what we expect of you because we are giving you more privileges. If you go to another school, a 5-year school in Brong-Ahafo region, this is what we expect of you. So to each, what we've given you, we demand from you. And you can achieve your equity goals in the same manner. We have not been given the chance to make this argument in a more open environment because those who fear, there are many people who fear that a strong, viable Achimota School may lose control. They may lose control over it. It's an unfounded fear. You can build the school, provide it the opportunity to do what it can do, and make it accountable. Make the school accountable. That's why you have a school board on which you have GES representation. So by all means, the voice of GES will be heard at discussions of what to do in the school. But let that board take responsibility for the use of the resources. Let that board exercise the rights that have been given to it by the Constitution. Let that board take full advantage of the various resources available to it, the human resources, the financial resources. That is the only way you can get schools like Achimota, St. Mary's, Accra Girls, Accra Academy, Wesley Girls, Holy Church. That's how you can get them to provide the men and women that we need for national transformation. The current approach is like a race to the bottom for everybody. We are, for whatever reason, destroying the senior high school system for, in my view, largely political ends.
Very well said. Prof, who decides on who becomes either the headmaster or headmistress of Achimota School?
That is the prerogative of the Ghana Education Service. Basically, they appoint school heads. We've been fighting for that to be made the responsibility of the school board, but it remains the responsibility of the Ghana Education Service. So the problem with that there's a long queue of men and women who are who are qualified to be school heads. So you need to be a director in the Ghana Education Service to become a school head. And you must have run a school somewhere for at least 2 or 3 years before you can head a place like Achimota. Now, because there's a long queue of people who are eligible, somebody as GES has to find a way of selecting the one person that can run Achimota School, one for Accra Academy, one for St. Mary's, one for all these schools. Of course, they do have their own criteria for eligibility. They do have their criteria for selecting. In the case of Achimota School, each time that the position has become vacant, they have asked us to provide some names that we would like to have considered. They've always asked us to provide the names. In the past, we've managed to find people that we believed would be worthy heads of the school. In the last couple of years, we've struggled to find people that we are looking for. Most Accras would like to see an Accra head. Mm-hmm. There are very few Accras in the GES system and very few who are eligible to become school heads. That means that the likelihood of finding a good Accra to become Achimota school head is extremely low, and by the day, the number diminishes. So what I personally would look for is not necessarily an Accra to run Achimota school, but I'm looking for a good person, man or woman, to run Achimota school. That, for me, that good person should have a vision very well aligned to the vision that we are talking about today. I want to see somebody who is going to be at the school for at least 5 years, and implement a vision that reflects what we experienced and what we want for the future. Today, the people who are being appointed as heads will do 2 years, 2.5 years, and then go away. There's nothing anybody can do in 2.5 years to show any vision. Mm-hmm. They don't ask for a vision anyway. I mean, if you're going to a school 3 years before you retire, what kind of vision are you bringing to that school? So that is the problem. How do we get the Ghana Education Service to say, forget about your long queue of people? For these schools, headhunt individuals that can transform those schools, headhunt individuals that can make a difference to how the schools are run and how the schools will contribute to the future. And stop focusing on this long queue of people. That is the problem with school headship in Ghana. It's not just Achimota School. Many other schools are struggling with finding good heads. And it's because the headship of schools has become a tool for satisfying various needs within the system.
Wow. Very interesting. Is there any way Achimota could be privatized?
It depends on what you mean by privatization. I know that we've all spoken about getting private involvement in Achimota School over the years. But being an economist, I know that privatization means a lot more than I am thinking about. Mm-hmm. So I don't like to use the word privatization. But if by privatization, we simply mean private sector involvement in the in investment in Achimota School, in the management of Achimota School, I don't have any problem with that. Mm-hmm. My biggest ambition would like to be to see the government of Ghana grant Achimota School more autonomy in the management of the school. More autonomy in taking decisions about appointing teachers, the hiring of teachers, in the appointment of heads, in the selection of the students, and so on. I would like to see greater autonomy, which could include private investment. It's good. But the more important thing is that the school board should have the power to hire heads, to hire teachers, to admit students, set fees, and so on. These are the things that will make any school board very effective and functional. If you want results, if we want Achimota School to be the place that provides scientists, that provides researchers, that provides good public servants. So we are looking for excellence. Excellence will never, you can quote me, excellence will never come from simply running the school like a 2-year-old school or a 5-year. It's not going to come because it takes a lot of investment, and that investment cannot come from the GES.
Wow, it's deeper than I thought. So what do we do? I mean, what is the solution to this? A few months ago, I remember we having a situation where we got a message one way or the other that Accra Samuel Asamoah Bokassa is being moved from Achimota School. From all indications and from what we hear, he is quite an asset to the school in mobilizing classes for these students and getting them to do better than they are doing. I mean, better. Then he gets a letter from the GES saying that he's been moved elsewhere. What do we do to protect assets like Mr. Asamoah or Accra Asamoah? People we know are good for the school. How do we just allow the GES or give them such power to move people around just like that without any recourse to how that can affect the school, its performance and stuff like that? I think for us to get the best out of Achimota School, we definitely need the involvement, as in terms of management, of certain Accras. Because as Accras, I mean, being an Accra, I know that most people do not like Accras. So when you have somebody who is a non-Accra making decisions for Achimota School, it wouldn't be in the interest of the school. So how do we protect, even if we don't have that autonomy, how do we protect assets like Mr. Asamoah and make sure they just don't move around like that?
Yeah. So the example you give clearly is an illustration of how GES manages schools, having moved from the function of a regulator to a manager. So the GES appoints teachers to schools, and so has the right to move them as it deems fit. But once I would like to address your question, not focusing on the individuals in the scenario, but more on the structure, the structure that makes it possible. So I would like to have a conversation with government about the future of senior high school education. In this country, we tend to think that a conversation like that is the sole prerogative of educationists and politicians. That if you are not a trained educationist, you can't be part of that discussion. And that's why in education, we've had probably the most reforms in any sector over the years. Every few years, there's some reform, either in teacher training or in the polytechnics, universities. Every few years, there's some change. Every few years, there's some change, largely because people believe that it is their sole responsibility to introduce change. And the changes that they introduce are very seldom discussed across board. Those changes often affect parents. Those changes affect students. Those changes affect teachers. Those changes affect different other levels of education. But they are always treated in isolation. And so you are always hearing about changes in education, and those changes often lead to outcomes that nobody anticipated and nobody even measures. I've never seen any evaluation of the outcomes of many of those changes, whether it's senior high school or a junior secondary school or whatever. We seldom see. And wherever there have been evaluations of them, these have been prompted by a funding agency that provided resources for it, demands some evaluation, basically about whether funds were properly used. That's the type of evaluation that we do. So I would like to see Akures campaign for a more structured, consideration of what type of senior high school education we need. Of course, you can't do that in isolation of a consideration of the junior high school system, and before that, at the basic school system. So that you need to sit down with people like Ivan Adai-Mensah, Professor Jangwa, and others who have been in education for many, many years. So you bring in both the young and the old, more experienced, people still active, to discuss what can we do to get the best out of our system? What can we do to get good teachers both at Achimota School and at that 2-year-old school in the Brong-Ahafo region? What can we do to ensure that people who leave Achimota School will be happy to teach in schools in northern Ghana? And they used to do that all the time. So what kind of incentive can we provide to bring that back? So it's about time we understood that excellence there's nothing wrong with excellence. That excellence is essential for national transformation. So excellence at Achimota School is good for Ghana. If Achimota School succeeds, Ghana succeeds. If Achimota School fails, Ghana fails.
And in giving your answer, you mentioned very prominent names like Accra Adai-Mensah, Accra Jangwa. You mentioned, I mean, we have the Honorable Minister for Finance being in Accra, his deputy being in Accra. We have the Deputy Chief of Staff being in Accra, and people in high places as always. Is there any way the OA can have a meeting, you see, because the situation is there. I mean, something has to be done because it looks like we are going down and down and downhill. And if we don't get our actions together in a very aggressive way, we may be the losers. So I think with the conversation we are having now and subsequent conversations to follow, we have to look at how we can influence decision-making when it comes to education in Ghana, especially with regards to we have a few minutes to go. We are going to use those few minutes to talk about this issue. You know, Achimota was in the news for all the right reasons, I want to call it, a few weeks ago, in the case of Tyrone Iras Magay. And it is because, obviously, we denied him admission. Oh, no, we gave him admission to the school, but we denied him his coming into the school because of his dreadlocks. And he decided to sue the school. What is the situation? What is the position of the OAA on this issue, and how are things going?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, you're right. I was in court this morning, and you know, I've been cited for contempt of court before dealing with Achimota School matters. So this time I'll be a bit more careful in my choice of words. I'm not going to say the kinds of things that will land me in court again for contempt of court. What it means is that before I even talk about court, let me say I have followed on various Accra platforms, WhatsApp platforms, the discussions that have taken place involving what Accras think about the whole drama. I've seen that many Accras have the view that the school management did the right thing. And I've also seen that quite a number of Accras think that it's time that the school opened up to more liberal ideas about how to engage with young people. So the debate is, I think, a very lively debate that should continue. I am not sure that we need to take decisions on the future of the type of environment kids should be brought up in now. It's a kind of debate that for me evolves over time based on experiences and based on the exigencies of the time and based on resources and so on. So I don't think we should be rushed in taking a decision on whether dreadlocks are acceptable at the school or not. There's enough time for us to think about that. You asked what's the OAA's position?
Yeah.
The OAA's position is basically to support the school management. The school management took a decision, and the OAA, I know that on the executive committee, we've had a very interesting discussion of it. With the exception of one person, everybody on the executive committee believes that the school management did right. The school management did right. But we respect the view of the one person who thought differently. So I can say that the majority of the executive committee strongly believes that the school did the right thing. And so the support we are giving to the school management in the defense of this case is basically providing cover to the school management to fight the case. So we were in court. Last week, when the court sat, the OA was not, the school board was not represented, largely for bureaucratic reasons. I mean, somebody to organize the school board, the school failed to do that, and so it didn't happen. Largely because of GES discussions with the school management, and so everybody forgot that it was the board that was really the main respondent here. We have corrected that. We have appointed lawyers for the school board, and we were in court to defend. The case was adjourned to the 14th of July to allow the school board to present a more organized response to the suit. In
the meantime, the gentleman is still at home, right?
Yes, he is at home, yes.
It's been adjourned to July. What happened?
The 14th of May.
Oh, 14th of May, okay. So in terms of the general performance, and this may be my last but one question, in terms of general performance of the students, what interventions have been put in place to up their game, to help them do better? Because it looks like the Achimota we have now is not the Achimota we grew up in, and...
Yeah, I understand fully your question. One of the things I haven't done this year is to study the results of the last batch of candidates that we put out. I haven't studied that closely this year, so it's difficult for me to comment. But I can say that in the last 5 years, we've seen the performance go up and down, up and down. For a long time, it seemed to be going down steadily. Then we, through various interventions that, the OA had been providing a lot of support to the school. various incentives to the teachers, incentives to the school management, various facilities that we provided, support that is expected to lead to better outcomes. And so we've seen a number of students were not eligible for tertiary education in Ghana because they didn't pass, they didn't receive credit in either English, core mathematics or English. And that was a big problem for us. But if over 30% of people who go to Achimota School are not eligible for tertiary education in Ghana, it's a big problem. That for me has been the biggest challenge that I think the OAA needs to assist the school to address. How do you reduce the number of people who fail core maths? They can go, so they can pass various other things, but simply because they fail core maths or English language, they can't go to university. That is the biggest problem. And I would like to see us, all of us, discuss how best. The OAA is assisting the school in many other different ways. Last year, we offered considerable support for the National Science and Maths Quiz, and which saw the school do much better. It got to the semifinals for the first time in many years. Hopefully, this year we will again provide support and see them go beyond the semifinals to actually win. I've told the school that how much support we provide and the form of the support will be driven largely by its the likelihood that the students will learn from it. So whatever we give will be informed by their performance. So last year they went to the semifinals, so we will increase how much we give. If they do win the National Science and Maths Quiz, the sky is the limit, and I will be happy to mobilize across around the world to give them the best kind of assistance.
I don't know if the information I have is right, but currently we have about 4,000 students, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we have about 130 teachers.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that makes it about 30 students to each teacher. And you look at it and you wonder how effective that can be. And I'm of the view, well, most across, I believe, are of the view that some of these things are the things that we have to really look at, because the ratio is a bit on the high side. And when you look at this ratio, it is therefore not surprising to see the kind of performance that we are getting. So I think, in a nutshell, we as ACRES have to really mobilize and see what we can do for the school. This is the first part of 3 interviews that we are going to have with the professor, Ernest Aite. The next one will follow soon. We will send the information across very soon. We are grateful for your time. But Prof, before we go off, what final thoughts do you want to share with the group today based on our first interview?
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I mean, I am very happy with the kind of interest that ACRES have always shown in their school. I know that every Ghanaian loves his or her school, and it applies very much to Achimotans. So I would like us to translate that love for the school into action. I would like us to very, very, very much not simply contribute financially, but also express views and opinions Those of us who can lobby people in government, let's do that to get government to understand that there are ways in which we can get the best out of our schools, not just Achimota, but all the schools that we have in the system. Let's have a more open discussion, a discussion that is devoid of politics, a discussion that is not about who likes us and who does not like us. Not liking Achimota School is not going to spoil anything. I mean, the school is always going to be there. You can't wish it away. So whether GES or anybody likes Achimota School, for me, is besides the point. We will always be there. There will always be Akures. So it's about time people accepted that and thought about how to use that for the benefit of a much larger community. So what I would like Akures to think about is how can we excite the government to think more positively about autonomy for schools, about greater independence for school boards. That, for me, is what is going to make a big difference. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you for your time, Professor, and thank you, everybody, for your time this afternoon. Like I said, we try to highlight Achimota-related issues, and we've tried to bring to the fore issues concerning Achimota School that, under normal circumstance, people don't hear about or know about. Is the first part of 3 interviews. So we'll keep you posted on the next interview. We are going to talk about the land issues, the land issues and our endowment fund and so many other things that are there to be discussed. I hope today has been wonderful for everybody. We know that with regards to our dues, we all have to make the effort to pay our dues. Prof, we just want you to know that it is not deliberate. We don't intentionally sit back and decide not to pay the dues. But now that you are engaging us, we are going to commit to paying our dues to make.
All you need to do is go to the bank and do a standing order. Once a year, they will deduct it and pay it straight to the school.
Sure. And other methods of payments to advertise that all over the different platforms to make sure that as a school, we are committed, we are engaged, and we are doing something positive for our former school, Achimota. Thank you so much again, and we will see you soon. Time with Shanti, and God bless you. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
From Gambaga to Accra, from Riasa to Kita, we are brothers and our mother is a school. She will guide us on a niche, so to learn that we may teach, so to subjugate ourselves that we may rule. Play the game, shout her name, spread her fame afar. She's the head of all the hosts, she's the school of whom we boast. She's the glory of the coast, Achimota.
When our books are laid aside and we scatter far and wide, we remember with affection all we gained. How we learned to take a share in the life and labor there, where the men of whom we're proud and so were trained.
Play the game, shout her name, spread her fame afar. She's the head of all the hosts, she's the school of whom we boast. She's the glory of the coast, Achimota. Play the game, shout her name, spread her fame afar. She's the head of all the hosts, she's the school of whom we boast. She's the glory of the coast.